Hey, true believers. Chris Matt coming at you with Dark Knight's Death Metal number 4. Oh, this one was tough. I'm not gonna lie. I think while reading, I fell asleep. I think 4 times, and we've talked about the in past reviews where you don't want a book to get bogged down by dialogue, and this book gets bogged down by dialogue. Now, Sergeant Rock kind of makes it fun. You know, he's kind of like the all-seeing narrator of the book. But here's the thing: is we kind of bust into this battle, and instead of seeing battle or jumping between arcs, we do get a recap, which I appreciate. But it's just talking. Now, once you like to see some like panels of like people fighting, or trying to sneak in somewhere, and there's some dialogue boxes here and there, and just have like these boxes just kind of leading you as beats. That's what it should be. But reading, and then again, we've talked about this too, because Rock says you just keep your eyes on the battle. Don't mind him. But since you took up with a different platoon for a spell, let's compare intel, see if it squares up. It says, be sure to check out Trinity Crisis number 1, Speed number 1, Multiverses End number 1. And this is where I feel like if you keep, wanting people to pick up spin-offs, then your main book, it becomes devoid of importance. Because everything else is happening in other books, so why should I care about reading this book? Because again, all this has in here, to me, was build-up. There's some good ideas, but not enough. So let's go ahead and dive into it, but let's talk about who made this book first. It's an Anti-Crisis Part 4, Shot in the Dark by Scott Scream King Snyder and Greg the Muscle Capullo. Jonathan Glapion doing the inks, FCO Placencio doing the colors, Tom Napolitano doing the letters. Here's everybody else working on the book. And of course, Batman was created by Bill Finger with Bob Kane. Superman was created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster. Wonder Woman was William Marston, right? Was that his name? I always forget who created like Green Lantern and The Flash. And then of course, characters like Darkseid was created, I believe, by Jack Kirby. And then we get this Crisis on Infinite Earths, because that's what they're trying to do. Is they're trying to reach out to the original Crises to try to bring the Earth back to its status quo, and in doing so, they have to bring all the Crisis energy to Wally West, because he has sort of like the Doc Manhattan power. But Batman realizes that this is wrong. The crises that they're dealing with here, there's something off about them. And a little character here explains it. I don't want to give it away. So while that's happening, we go to the final crisis. And we see the Superman that we've been following is down on this down. I think this is Superman from Earth 2, or supposed to be like the Golden Age Superman, Future Superman, and then I think that's Ultraman or Red Dawn Superman, I forget. But you can see that they all follow Darkseid. I keep wanting to say Thanos, and I'm like, that's Marvel, stop it. And the imagery, don't get me wrong, is beautiful. The artwork's great. I like how he's, Darkseid here is large and in charge. We have Supergirl and Orphan, or Cassandra Cain, I think that's her name, kind of holding up Darkseid there. We have Hal kneeling and constructing a throne for Darkseid. And he's like, there is no one here but Darkseid Kryptonian. I control with anti-life anything that breathes. I speak through everything in this place. If you wish to speak to me, kneel. And so, again, interesting ideas. I want to know more. But before we can even really kind of start to see what's going to happen with this Superman, we get, again, some beautiful artwork, but more talking. and explaining. And I will say, at least the panels, for the most part, aren't boring. But again, there's only so much dynamicness with talking. Ugh. The only thing that's kind of interesting at this point, again, spoiler alerts if you guys have never read the original Crisis on Infinite Earths from the 80s and whatnot, but you see that Wonder Woman is strung up next to Alexander Luthor. Because when the Crisis on Infinite Earths ended, the people that kind of got stranded and were locked together was Alexander Luthor, Superboy Prime, and the original Superman from Earth 2, I think it is. I forget the Earth numbers at this point. But you can see that this Superboy Prime has done something that's had him kill one of his comrades. He's basically saying that he's made a deal with the devil because he wants the Earth to go back to how it was in the Silver Age. He goes, I heard enough of it, so now you hear my world, Diana. The voices of the people. They're happy. They're faithful. Why? Because they have heroes who goodness inspires them, who keeps evil at bay, who vanquished it already. I listen to them day and night, a million of voices. It's like this symphony of hope. So he's talking about how Diana, these heroes are a bit off, as were his world. Everything was more kind of happy and campy, which that's how the Silver Age was. And we don't really get any more than that. We then get some running and talking, which, yeah, the action lines, they're running away from this demon. Interesting. But before we can get into that, more standing and talking. And yes, the Robin King kind of gives a really interesting idea of talking about how it's heroes being twisted and villains, if there's like twisted versions of villains that are heroes. There's an interesting point to it. Before we can get anything on that, more talking. And then you think, okay, talking, we're getting towards the end of the book, we should see something, right? We're starting to see this. We're starting to see Superboy Prime getting fired up. 4 more. Talking. Now, it kind of starts to get a little interesting at this point because Diana's trying to tell Superboy Prime how the error of his ways on the way he's trying to do it and how everything can coexist, like nothing doesn't need to be destroyed. But yeah, we think that their plan to try to save the world doesn't work. And you kind of get to see what happens with the crisis energy because, as you can see, the Earth is still in ruins. So again, this has some wonderful ideas, and I appreciate that Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo have taken their Batman Who Laughs and their Dark Knight Metal ideas, created a sequel, but made it kind of more in a dystopian future. The only downfall is it's packed with characters, so they have to keep doing all these spin-offs. I'm not going to read every single spin-off. I've read maybe 3 or 4. That's probably the extent of what I'm going to read. And so, because of that, you start to lose the importance of, well, why am I reading this if everything's happening in everything else? Yes, there's a lot of ideas, but then instead of making this a weekly floppy, they should have done kind of like how, what's his name? Jeff Johns did the 3 Jokers in almost like a collected trade form. That way you can get the whole story. But then again, it goes back to they're making money. Okay, nothing wrong with that, but in doing so, for fans, you're just kind of like, I'm not getting the whole story, so this isn't really holding a lot of water for me. You know what I mean? I wanted to see some more action, and I wanted to see more of the worlds, like where Superman and Darkseid, and kind of the thing that was happening with Harley Quinn and the Robin Queen King. I like to have seen more of that, but they just kept cutting away to more dialogue. Dialogue bogs down the story. Show, don't tell. Let the dialogue enhance and push shit along beat by beat instead of just cutting away to more talking. So overall, I'll give this book 4 out of 10. It wasn't horrible. Art was really nice. But just way too much standing and talking, running and talking, sitting and talking, agonizing and talking. What do you guys think? If you've enjoyed this book, please first and foremost support your local comic shop and pick up a copy of it, because it's still worth reading. It's fun. I mean, there's certain parts like with Sergeant Rock, it's fun. If you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate if you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you won't mind hitting that fancy little Dark Knight bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love to hear your thoughts and all that good stuff down in the comments below and on our social media pages, which I will make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So with all that said, thank you guys for so much for stopping by and checking out the review. I hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.